What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and this week I'm joined by Chris Abacon. He'll be with me for the next 2 weeks. Shannon is on vacation, so definitely send him your love, which he cannot read because he doesn't have social media, but I'll pass it to him. I promise I will. But definitely tune in throughout this entire 2 weeks. We have 10 episodes, so Monday through Friday for the next 2 weeks. This week, we will have Darren King Jr. on the Ask Us SP, so definitely tune in for that one. It's a really good conversation. He's in the defense contracting space, so definitely tune in for that one. And then next week, we have Jay Sanders. That's also an excellent episode, and I'll talk more about that one in the following week. So with that being said, I'll jump into today's topic. So this one comes from The Hill and is written by, I'm going to butcher your name.
Tatiana. Tatiana.
There you go. And it's called Tackling the Labor Shortage in Cybersecurity. So we, as a podcast, right, we're always talking about how we're going to grow this industry, looking for diversity, as well as just growth in general. So back when I started the podcast, they said there would be roughly 1 million vacancies in cybersecurity. And since then, we've continued to talk about there's still 1 million vacancies in cybersecurity. And then there's pipelines being built, right? The government is involved. The trillion-dollar companies are involved. So Apple, as well as Microsoft and Google are trying to bring more people into the pipeline. There are more STEM programs being put into more rural areas, as well as 8 historically Black colleges and universities. And then there's just an amazing amount of growth. We talked about Microsoft has an initiative in the Asian theater where they're trying to bring in more female Asians into cybersecurity. So there is a lot of this happening, yet we still have a shortfall when it comes to labor within this field or multiple fields within this umbrella we call cybersecurity, right? So with that being said, I'd like to get your opinion on this one, Chris.
So, cybersecurity, they're saying 700 job vacancies just in the US, right? So that's a lot.
Yeah, because we were saying 1 million worldwide at one point. Now we're just saying 1
worldwide.
million just in our own country.
So, I would hope that the at least parents out there, they're saying, hey, kiddo, you can go learn how to do this coding thing, right? Or whatever it might be. But I think that with this shortage, right, I think there just might be some kind of, I think it's a marketing issue, so to speak, right? Like how difficult, how involved is cybersecurity? Do people have an idea that they're going to be, in the weeds doing a lot of the programming, a lot of the engineering? But I think a lot of people have to understand that a lot of cybersecurity is a business process too, right? Like security, policies, documentation. And really it's not the sexiest job, so to speak, but I definitely think that, more education and awareness as we, with the younger generation.
Yeah.
The cybersecurity, with these vacancies, there's a potential for this to be many firms there's a lot of potential out there, right? And I also think that breaking into cybersecurity is a difficulty, because how do you just become a cybersecurity, analyst or, lower level, starting range cybersecurity analyst without any experience in that, right? So, I like to break it down by like, hey, what's the most basic IT job you can think of? Like help desk, right? It's usually the help desk guys or gals that, decide to choose, hey, do I want to go into engineering? Do I want to go into system administration? Do I want to go into architecture, right? Or do I want to go to cybersecurity, right? So it's from there. So when you have this idea of this almost like a stovepipe, right? Or when you have this like focal point of people to draw from, you're not going to get as many, cybersecurity professionals, right? So opening it up to, I think the article here was alluding to, or at least Ms. Tatiana Bolton was alluding to the fact that, opening it up to other industries, right? Opening up cybersecurity or, some of these job fields, some of these job postings to people that aren't necessarily IT focused, right? Mm-hmm. People that aren't necessarily technical. So as long as there's an understanding of the business process of cybersecurity, I think that once that message is out there, we're going to start seeing a lot more people in cybersecurity. I recently transitioned out of the military, right? And a lot of the people in my TAPS course were like, I want to be a cybersecurity analyst. I want to do this. Like people that were, engineers, right, on ships, right? They wanted to dive into cybersecurity because they didn't want to be engineer or, hands-on, turning wrenches anymore, right? So a lot of them talked to me and said, hey, what did you do to get into it? I mean, unfortunately, in my set, I did help desk. I did the traditional route of, I was some of the first things I did in the military were like help desk type functions, right? So I was on that natural progression point, but they're, doing a paradigm shift. So I just think that I think that there could be more acceptance from companies to hire people that aren't, that don't have the necessary experience, create positions for this, right? So that it's a managerial issue and, a strategy issue from companies like, hey, how are we going to get more cybersecurity analysts, right? Where are we going to draw the talent pool from? And how can we use our resources and how can we maximize the employees, right? And then it also talked about like emphasis on diversity, and no doubt, diversity, inclusion, drawing from, let's getting as many people, as many students out there educated. It's going to just help solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're alluding to is GRC, right? So like GRC is not the sexiest. I love it. That's my favorite part of cybersecurity.
I agree.
Right. I don't think enough people know what it is. So GRC is governance, risk, compliance, right? So that's the people who are looking at your policies, your programs, and they're trying to make sure you're adhering to whatever framework you're governed by, whether it be you're in finance, so you have SOX, or you're in medical, so you have HIPAA and high trust, or you're in some way taking payment card payments and things of that nature. So it's PCI. So there's a multitude of frameworks out there. Government space, you have your what is it? Your 171. You have your 53 Rev 4. Is it Rev 4 now?
Rev
Rev
5.
5, yeah.
Yeah,
Rev 5. So your NIST, right, CSF, things of that nature. So there's a multitude of different frameworks out there. So it's kind of, I think that's going to have some of the biggest growth within cyber over the next couple of years, just because there's not a lot of people who know of it, but every company needs it type situation. And you don't necessarily have to have, like me and Chris have help desk. We have IT, networking, engineering, things of that nature. So that I think that what helps us is that helps us stand apart, because we're within a sea of people who are doing GRC. We have very specific background and skills where we can expand to a certain extent, because we know ports and protocols. We know these intricacies and how networks work.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to know that to get into GRC, right? Like if you're a person who's really big into QA, if you're a person who's really big into law or legal ramifications, things of that nature, or if you're just a person who is good at technical writing, things of that nature, like GRC is for you. So you should definitely look at it, because it's people who are really focused on attention to detail and applying and adapting that and helping people, because there's a customer service aspect of it, right? Like if you're coming from engineering, where you get to hide behind the other side of the network operations center wall, and you have to interact with human beings, GRC might not be for you.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of interfacing with people and talking to people because they don't necessarily understand how the rules apply to their business. So they need help from that aspect. So there's that element. You have to have those soft skills to talk to people, and when you're in consulting and things of that nature. However, not everybody has to be that. Like you have some people who are just nose and book, need to know every reference, everything. And then those people are also consultants who don't necessarily always interact with people. There's still some interaction there, but you're not your CISO or things of that nature, right? You're more of the I would say assessor, things of that nature, right? You're going through and you're making sure that they have all of the evidence and artifacts and things of that nature that they need to make sure that they pass whatever certification the company needs to continue to move on. But I'd say all this like word vomit right now, but there's so many aspects of cyber that people don't know about.
Right.
This is but news, like everybody thinks that you have to be a programmer. Everybody thinks that you
No,
have to be you have to be an engineer, right?
not
Like
at
it's
all.
cool to have those talents as well, right? That makes you a Swiss Army knife. However, you don't need that to come into cyber. Like those 700,000 vacancies don't have to exist. But like you said, Chris, it's also the marketing, right? When these job requisitions go out, they're looking for somebody who has 5 years of cybersecurity experience and a CISP and yada yada yada, and that's not entry level.
Entry level with the CISP,
Yeah,
SEC plus,
yeah,
C. It's
that is
absurd,
not
right? And
that's not entry level. Yeah,
you're going to see that as an up and coming, aspiring cybersecurity professional, and it's just like it's demoralizing. Like, oh, these certs are hard. These certs are they're
yeah.
a lot of work. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience that goes with this. So I think that there definitely needs to be some level of open mindedness and really the mentoring aspect of it, right? So I think
Yeah.
cybersecurity leaders have to be better mentors and really build the communities out there. That's going to be our cybersecurity workforce.
Right. And we're seeing those people are out there, right? So when I do the SSP, like you have your Kenneth Ellington's, right? He started his own GRC Academy. You have your Aisha Hollins, right? She's a
Mhm.
mentor of ESISO, an author, digital forensics pioneer, like the list goes on and on. PMP. Her co-host for her upcoming podcast, the Making IT Make Sense, Making It Make Sense. Miguel, he is a retired FBI agent, right? Like, so he was pioneering cyber before cyber had a name, right? So
Mhm.
he's there during 9/11, doing cyber forensic type things. So the field has been around for a long time. So you have these people in the field who are offering support and help and connections. Um, who else? I mean, the list goes on and on. Like I said, we have Darren King Jr. on this week. We have Jay Sanders next week. He's also he's Navy, so you'll like that interview, Chris.
I like that.
And he stood up like a enterprise around training and getting people into cybersecurity. So it's out there. So if you're seeking it, it's out there. However, don't fall into the pitfalls where somebody's trying to charge you 10 grand to get you through a cert mill or something like that, because you're still not going to have the experience. Um, so it's a hard nut to crack. I get that.
Oh yeah.
However, there are a lot of, especially if you're a veteran, there's avenues for you to get in. If you are a minority man or woman, there's avenues for you to get in. If you're a woman, there's avenues for you to get in. Just you have to just have to type into Google what you are and what you're looking to be, and there's plenty of free ways to start the course, right? Um, to get into cyber, but also you have to stretch. You have to find ways to get the experience from what you currently do. So there's a lot of people who are doing things that are not IT or cyber related, and you have to look within your company, which they will definitely utilize you to do extra work. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's a good on ramp. Like I'm not saying that to kill yourself with work. I'm not trying to go down that route.
Mhm.
However, if you can embed yourself within the help desk, if you can help out with policy and programs, you can find a mentor within the company that
Mhm.
is not in your section, right? Like if you are a flight attendant, like the help desk needs some help, or if there's something you can do to kind of get yourself into the position where you can help them out to start to build that experience. And then you'll be able to check the box when it comes to HR, because I think that's going to be the hardest. The ATS system is a beast, and it does not care that you have potential, right? So that's where things get kind of weird, unfortunately. So I say all to say, reach out to us or to anyone
Yeah.
that's in the field, right? Like LinkedIn is your friend, and ask them, how'd you get here? What did you do? And show them that you have interest and go from there. And I've seen people who are jet engine mechanics and now in cybersecurity, um, right? Like there's a lot of room and growth, and all you have to do is show interest and potential, and you too can be on the side of the fence, and we can fill those vacancies. So
No doubt. Definitely potential. I mean, mentors and potential mentors out there, they can see potential, but most thing is they want to see enthusiasm, right? They want to see
yeah,
drive. When they see that with aspiring professionals, they will do anything they can to help you out, right?
There it is.
There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of things out there for to assist in cybersecurity.